Welcome to EPG Patashala. This is Professor Abdul Sattar, Professor of Philosophy, SV University, Tirupati. Today, we are going to discuss about the module Islam as a religion under the paper Indian Religion and Philosophy. As we all know, a religion is a oldest human pursuit, but still no precise definition of it has not been given till today. We are also not going to give the precise definition of religion. We are pointing to two broad forms of religion. One is individual form of religion, the other one is social form of religion. By individual form of religion, I mean that religion which individual tries to make a silent effort to establish communion with whatever he likes as God or divine or supernatural power or any impersonal being. Taking this form of religion into consideration, Whitehead defined religion as something that an individual does in his solitariness. Radhakrishnan takes this form of religion as the culture of the self. By individual form of social form of religion, we mean that form of religion under which several people join together in one religious group by virtue of entertaining or accepting more or less the same kind of spiritual principles, accepting and observing the same kind of religious practices. The Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism and Islam are some of the examples of this kind of social form of religion. Now, in this background, we are going to make an understanding of Islam as a social form of religion. Now, in this module, let us make an understanding of the objectives, like what is the meaning of the religion in general, and a brief picture of the pre-Islamic Arabia and the advent of Prophet Muhammad and his divine revelations, and what Islam is about, articles of faith in Islam, pillars of Islam, primary sources of Islam, human rights and justice, family system, status of woman, jihad, a misunderstood word. With this, let us start with what is the general meaning of religion in this module. Religion is an organized collection of beliefs, cultural systems, and worldviews that relate humanity to an order of existence. Many religions have narratives, symbols, and sacred histories that aim to explain the meaning of life or to explain the origin of life or the universe. In other words, religion can be defined as a specific religious belief based on the world and life view as a whole. And after understanding this kind of religion, let us understand the pre-Islamic Arabia and the conditions that were prevalent at that time. Demoralized state is perhaps the most comprehensive phrase through which the pre-Islamic world can be concisely picturized. The whole world lay in the fast grip of paganism, savagery, debauchery, anarchy, and other vices. Autocracy and despotism prevailed at an extreme in every religion. The poor were trampled down and persecuted by the rich, and humanity groaned under the curse of inhumanity. Under this heavy incubus of religious was Arabia groaning when Islam suddenly appeared. The social condition of Arabs was deplorable as it was steeped in immorality. Human sacrifices were commonly practiced. Ancient Arabs' literature is stunk with wine and other strong liquors, containing a treasure of its expressions. Rum shops were well decorated. Gambling was the next favorite pastime for them. Adultery was another vice to which the whole of Arabia was hopelessly wedded. The enemies were burnt alive. Pregnant women had their bellies slashed. Innocent babies and children were massacred. Usury was in vogue. Women were deprived of the right of inheritance. The Arabs were embarrassed at the birth of daughters, and sometimes the fathers buried them alive in the spite of soul-harrowing cries. Slavery was another curse having a firm hold on the Arab society. The worst type of obscene language was used in expressing sex relations. Women were accorded no better treatment than lower animals. Robbery, pillage, and murder were also of common occurrence, human blood being almost daily shed without remorse or horror. If we understand the prevalent situation before the advent of Prophet Muhammad, we can understand very well that Arabia was a land of polytheism and many kinds of ritualism and idolatry were present there. Against these, Prophet Muhammad propagated the message of what we call stick to monotheism and a life of rigorous daily life, divide of ritualism and also what we call idolatry. And thus Muhammad propagated the religion of Islam as a form of reformation, against the prevalent conditions in those days. Now, let us, after understanding the prevalent situations at that time, now let us understand the advent of Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad was born in Mecca, Arabia, in the year 570 CE, Christian era. Since his father died before his birth and his mother shortly afterwards, he was raised by his uncle from the respected tribe of Quraysh. Muhammad was a deeply religious in nature and had long detested the decadence of his society. It became his habit to meditate from time to time in the cave of Hira near the summit of Jabal al-Nur, the mountain of light near Mecca. At the age of 40, while engaged in a meditative retreat, Muhammad received his first revelation from God through the angel Gabriel. This revelation, which continued for 23 years, is known as Quran, the word of God. As soon as he began to recite the words he heard from Gabriel and to preach the truth which God had revealed to him. He and his small group of followers suffered bitter persecution, which grew so fierce that in the year 622 Christian era, God gave them the command to immigrate. This event, the Hijrah, migration, in which they left Makkah for the city of Medina, some 260 miles to the north. Here, if you see Prophet Muhammad's advent, we can understand that for some time after the birth of Prophet Muhammad, Muhammad used to live like an ordinary man. He had a wife named Khadija and also children. At the age of 40, he was called on to a divine message through Jibreel. Through this divine message, he got the divine revelation. And the voice that Muhammad heard from Gabriel is that, "O Muhammad, thou art the apostle of God, and I am Gabriel." Then Gabriel asked Muhammad to recite, "Recite thy Lord who has created man from the clots of blood. Recite thy Lord, the most beneficent, who taught by the pen. Recite thy Lord, who is beneficent, who taught that which they knew not unto men." Muhammad recited, and Gabriel departed. After this revelation, after this vision, Muhammad was filled with terror. It is when Khadija, the wife of Prophet Muhammad, consoled him, and again Gabriel reappeared and reminded Prophet Muhammad that he was the prophet of God. And Muhammad came to senses. Then afterwards, he started propagating the message of divine Quran. After understanding the advent of Muhammad, let us understand what is Islam is about. Islam is a religion based upon the surrender to God, who is one. Islam is a verbal noun originating from the triliteral root salama, which forms a large class of words, mostly relating to concepts of wholeness, safeness, and peace. In a religious context, it means voluntary submission to God. The message of Islam concerns God, who in Arab is called Allah. It addresses itself to humanity's most profound nature. It concerns men and women as they were created by God, not as fallen beings. Allah is the term which no plural or gender used by Muslims. Islam is said to be the religion of the book. All the basic features of Islam as a religion contained in this book called Quran. The word Quran comes from a root which means recite. It is thus a recital given by Prophet Muhammad to his followers, and Quran is named as a revealed text. It is the word of God revealed to Prophet Muhammad through Gabriel. And after Prophet Muhammad started divine revelations, the followers of Prophet Muhammad wrote it down. And the book Quran is holy to all the Muslims. Whatever that is most sacred is nothing less and nothing more than is the book Quran. And now with this understanding of the Islam and its nature, let us understand the articles of faith of Islam. Allah, the one and only God, and it believes the angels, revelations and the Quran, the messengers and prophets of God, the day of judgment, Khada and Khadar. Allah, the one and only God. Muslims believe in one God, supreme and eternal, infinite and mighty, merciful and compassionate, creator and provider. God neither has father, mother, sons, nor was he fathered, none equal to him. He is God of all mankind, not of a special tribe or race. There are angels, purely spiritual and splendid beings created by Allah. They require no food or drink or sleep. They have neither physical desires nor material needs. Angels spend their time in the service of Allah. According to the Quran, angels do not possess free will and therefore worship and obey God in total obedience. Each is charged with a certain duty. Muslims believe in all the scriptures and revelations of God as they were complete and in their original versions. Allah, the Creator, has not left man without guidance for the conduct of his life. Revelations were given to guide the people to the right path of Allah and sent down to selected people, the prophets and the messengers, to convey it to their fellow men. The Quran is the last book of guidance from Allah sent down to Prophet Muhammad. Quran, the last revealed word of God, is primary source of every Muslim's faith and practice. It deals with all the subjects which concern human beings, wisdom, doctrine, worship, transactions, law, etc. But its basic theme is the relation between God and his creatures. At the same time, it provides guidelines and detailed teachings for a just society, proper human conduct, and equitable economic system. There are 30 parts in Quran which make 114 surahs. Each surah has a different number of verses. Muslims believe in all the messengers and prophets of God without any discrimination. All the messengers were mortals, human beings, endowed with divine revelations appointed by God to teach mankind. The Holy Quran mentions the names of 25 messengers and prophets and states that there are others. Their message is the same, and it is Islam, and it came from one and the same source, God, Allah. It is to submit His will and to obey His law that is to become a Muslim. Muslims believe that God finally sent Muhammad as the last prophet, seal of the prophets, to convey the divine message to the world, the whole world, to sum up and to finalize the word of God. The day of judgment. Muslims believe in the day of judgment. This world or universe as people know it will become to an end, and the dead will rise to stand for their final and fair trial. On that day, all men and women from Adam to the last person will be resurrected from the state of death for judgment. Everything we do, say, make, intend and think are accounted for and kept in accurate records. They are brought up on the day of judgment. One believes in life after death is not expected to behave against the will of Allah. He will always bear in mind that Allah is watching all his actions and angels are recording them. People with good records will be generously rewarded and warmly welcomed to Allah's heaven. People with bad records will be fairly punished and cast into hell. The real nature of heaven and hell are known to Allah only, but they are described by Allah in man's familiar terms in the Quran. In spite of being influenced by Judaism, Islam has its own specific qualities of its own. And after understanding the bare outlines of Islam, let us understand in general what Islam is. Islam believes in one and only one God, Allah. It is out and out a monotheistic religion. Islam also believes in the authenticity and reality of other prophets such as Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad is regarded as the last and the mightiest among all the prophets. Islam believes in the existence of angels of good and bad dispositions. Angels of good disposition stand always at God's call to carry out the orders. They maintain the records of human conduct for the last day of judgment. On the day of judgment, angels bring the people from their graves for the rewards and punishment by God. Islam also believes in lives after death, providing the brief, narration of hell and heaven. It is the description of heaven and hell is so well defined and very well graphically described in Quran. And with this, let us move to Khada and Khadr. Muslims believe in Khada and Khadr, which relate to the ultimate power of Allah. Khada and Khadr mean the timeless knowledge of Allah and his power to plan and execute his plans. Allah is not indifferent to this world, nor is he is neutral to it. It implies that everything on this earth originates from one and only Creator, who is also the sustainer and destroyer and the sole source of guidance. And let us, after understanding this Khada and Khadr, timeless knowledge, let us move to the pillars of Islam. First pillar of Islam is Sahada, testimony of faith; Salat, prayer, Zakat, compulsory charity; Song, fasting; and fifth pillar, pilgrimage, Hajj. The religion which we have seen in the outline form takes God as a supreme Lord, and man's duty towards him is unconditional and absolute submission. Consequently, much of Islamic discipline consists of teaching its people definite ways of sincere devotion and prayer to God. However, it also consists within itself elements of self-purification and liberality. Thus, Islamic discipline may be taken both as a religious and ethical discipline simultaneously. It consists in the following 5 duties known as the 5 pillars of Islam. Repetition of faith in the absolute oneness of Allah. A strict monotheistic religion, Islam prescribes it to be the duty of every Muslim that before every prayer he should repeat the following words: La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. This repetition is intended not merely as a recital of words quite unmindfully, but as a reaffirmation of the wholehearted conviction that Allah is the only supreme God, and that this important message has been brought to the people of the world by a revered Muhammad. The second pillar of Islam, daily prayer, is the observance of set of prayers 5 times a day, at daybreak, at noon, at mid-afternoon, at sunset, and at early night, is another important pillar of Islam. Every Muslim is expected to take as his basic duty praying to God unfailingly 5 times a day at the appointed hours. Daily prayers have great importance in Islam. They are regarded as key to paradise. It is said God has promised to take into paradise him who keeps the 5 prayers and omits none. Almsgiving to the poor and the needy is another essential duty of all the Muslims. It was recommended by Prophet Muhammad from the very beginning as a mark of piety and liberality towards poor, and later on it took the form of regular religious tax called zakat. For the support of the poor and other state purposes, various formula for the giving of gifts have been worked out in Islam. Sometimes 1/10, sometimes 1/20 of one's land income is required to be gifted. Additional gifts by the able are regarded as signs of greater religious merit. As regards the merits of the gifts, it has been related in the Quran that a man served God for 20 years and then committed a sin which cancelled the merit of his entire service. Afterwards, he gave a loaf of bread to a poor man, and God pardoned his sin and gave him the merit of his entire service. Fasting, another important religious site to be observed by a Muslim, is fasting during the whole month of Ramzan, that is the 9th month of every lunar year. This consists in refraining from any kind of food or drink between sunrise and sunset. Eating is allowed at night, but taking wine and practicing such other impurities are forbidden for all times during the month. This fast of Ramzan is strictly to be observed by every Muslim. However, children, the sick, and the travelers are made exceptions. It is believed that this fasting remits all kind of sins committed during the whole year. Pilgrimage Hajj, for every able-bodied Muslim who can take journey, pilgrimage to Mecca at least once during lifetime, is regarded in Islam as an essential religious duty. No religious rite does more unite the Muslims than this pilgrimage, which is taken by thousands from all corners of the world at the same time during the sacred month of Dhul Hijjah. The pilgrim to Makkah is required to put on a definite prescribed dress at a proper pose on the route and has to perform definite rituals at Makkah. The pilgrim's prescribed dress is 2 seamless white garments, a waist wrapper from navel to the knee, and a shawl covering the left shoulder and tied under the right. Sandals may be used but not the shoes. Rituals among others consisting of walking or running 7 times around the Kaaba, kissing the black stone each time, casting stones at the 3 pillars of Mina, sacrifice of a sheep or goat or camel, meat being given to the poor, etc. The primary sources of Islam. For Muslims, followers of Islam, the Quran is the actual word of God revealed through the angel Gabriel to Muhammad during the 23-year period of his prophetic mission. Every word of it is the word of Allah. There is only one text of Quran accepted by all the schools of Islamic thought, and there are no variants. There are 30 parts of Quran which make 114 surahs, chapters, and each surah has different number of verses. Sunnat and Hadith. The practice and traditions, Sunnat, of Muhammad, which includes his sayings, Hadith, become the guide for Muslims in the understanding of Quran and the practice of their religion. Islamic law, Al-Sharia. Islam possesses a religious law called Al-Shariat in Arabic, which governs the life of Muslims and which Muslims consider to be the embodiment of the will of God. The Shariat is contained in principles in the Quran as elaborated and complemented by the Sunnah. On the basis of these principles, the schools of law, which are followed by all the Muslims to this day, were developed early in Islamic history. This law, while being rooted in the sources of Islamic revelation, is a living body of law which caters to the needs of Islamic society. Islamic laws are essentially preventative and are not based on harsh punishment except as a last measure. The faith of the Muslims causes him to have respect for the rights of others, and Islamic law is such that it prevents transgression from taking place in most instances. Islam is out and out a legalistic religion. It prescribes its followers with definite ethics, religious and other individual and social conduct. It is opposed to polytheism, external ritualism and idolatry and priesthood that were prevalent at the time of what we call Arabia, at the time of advent of Muhammad. And it believes in the absolute power of God, and also it believes in fatalism and predestination, which are seem to be the primary sources or a belief of Islam. And now with this, let us move to understand human rights and justice. Islam provides many human rights for the individual. The life and property of all citizens are considered sacred. Whether a person is Muslim or not, Islam also protects honor. So in Islam, insulting others or making fun of them is not allowed. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Truly your blood, your property and your honor are inviolable." Racism is not allowed in Islam, for the Quran speaks of human equality in the following terms: "O mankind, we have created you from a male and female and have made you into nations and tribes for you to know one another. Truly the noblest of you with God is the most pious. Truly God is all-knowing, all-aware and about Quran." Islam rejects certain individuals or nations being favored because of their wealth, power or race. God created human beings as equals who are to be distinguished from each other only on the basis of their faith and piety. Prophet Muhammad said, "O people, your God is one and your forefather Adam is one. An Arab is not better than a non-Arab, and a non-Arab is not better than an Arab, and a red, that is white tinged with red, person is not better than a black person, and black person is not better than a red person, except pity." One of the major problems facing mankind today is racism. The developed world can send a man to the moon but cannot stop man from hating and fighting his fellow man. Ever since the days of the Prophet Muhammad, Islam has provided a vivid example of how racism can be ended. The annual pilgrimage, Hajj, to Makkah shows the real Islamic brotherhood of all races and nations. When about 2 million Muslims from all over the world came to Makkah to perform the pilgrimage, the Prophet Muhammad said, people, be aware of injustice, for injustice shall be darkness on the day of judgment. And those who have not gotten their rights, that is what they have a just claim to, in this life will receive them on the day of judgment, as the prophet said. On the day of judgment, rights will be given to those whom they are due, and wrongs will be redressed. And with regard to the family system, Islam accepts that which is the basic unity of civilization and is now disintegrating. Islam family system brings the rights of husband, wife, children and relatives into a fine equilibrium. It nourishes unselfish behavior, generosity and love in framework of all a well-organized family system. The peace and security offered by a stable family unit is greatly valued, and it is seen as essential for the spiritual growth of its members. A harmonious social order created by the existence of extended families and by treasuring children. Now let us move to status of women in Islam. Islam sees a woman, whether single or married, as an individual in her own right, with the right to own and dispose of her property and earnings without any guardianship over her, whether that be her father, her husband or anyone else. She has the right to buy and sell, give gifts and charity, and may spend her money as she pleases. A mandatory payment, mahar, is given by the groom to the bride for her own personal needs, and she keeps her own family name rather than taking the husband's. Islam encourages the husband to treat his wife well, as the Prophet said, "The best among you are those who are best to their wives." Now, with regard to a word about jihad, a misunderstood word. Jihad is not a holy war. Jihad is not blowing up oneself. Suicide is sin in Islam. Jihad is not killing innocent people. Jihad is not flying a plane into a building packed with civilians. Jihad is not fighting out of anger and hatred. Jihad is not killing others just because they don't agree. Jihad is not killing others just because they are not Muslims. Jihad is an Arabic word from the root jahada. It literally means to struggle or strive. It is struggling or striving in the way or sake of Allah. Though it has nothing whatsoever to do with the term holy war, such a term or its equivalent does not exist in Islamic doctrine. The concept of jihad has been hijacked by many political and religious groups over the ages in a bid to justify various forms of violence. Some sayings of Muhammad: God has no mercy on one who has no mercy for others. None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. He who eats his full while his neighbor goes without food is not a believer. The truthful and trusty businessman is associated with the prophets and saints and the martyrs. Powerful is not he who knocks the other down. Indeed, powerful is he who controls himself in a bit of anger. God does not judge according to your bodies and appearances, but he scans your hearts and looks into your deeds. In the concluding remark, I would like to say that what we have understood in the form of understanding of Islamic religion, we would like to say that Islam is a prophetic religion of comparatively a late origin. It has its origin in the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, and who is taken by his followers as the messenger, Rasul of God, Allah. Islam does not disbelieve in the authenticity and reality of other prophets such as Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and also Islam regarded Prophet Muhammad as the final and the most magnificent prophet among all the prophets. Although Islam claims to be an independent religion coming directly from the revelatory experience of Prophet Muhammad, traces of Zoroastrian, Judaic and Christian influences are obvious on it. Many say that Islam is nothing but Judaism added with missionary zeal. Its ethics is a practical application of Sermon on the Mount. We do not think that these observations are literally true, but this much we can say with certainty that impact of Judaism on Islam is tremendous. And we see in this module, Islam believes in one and only God, Allah. It is therefore out and out a monotheistic religion. We have also understood Islam believes in the authenticity and reality of other prophets, and we also understood the sacred and authoritativeness of other scriptures such as Torah of Jesus, the Jews, and Gospel of Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad's Quran as the most sacred. And the religion of Islam preached by Prophet Muhammad was the most for his teachings. His teachings are final and they are to be observed by all. And it also believes in existence of the angels, good and bad angels. They maintain all the angels. They maintain the record of man's conduct. And also, besides angels, Islam believes in one fallen angel, namely Iblis and his companions. Iblis is the ruler of hell. And apart from the angels, Islam also believes in good and bad jinns. And at the last, we can say a word about jihad. Jihad is a misunderstood word. It has been used to propagate the religion of Islam. But in reality, in the real sense of the term, jihad is not used to propagate a religion. It is mentioned in Quran to wage a war, make a jihad, holy war against his own inner evils, but not wage war on to propagate Islam or religion. With these few understandings, thank you very much.